What's your favorite candy bar?
Got a favorite candy that you can't find anymore? While we get that all good things come to an end, these popular candies desperately deserve to make a comeback. See if your lost favorite is worthy.
It's all about candy.
Mars Planets, 2003 to 2007.
I claim this planet in the name of Mars.
The Mars bar has been a staple on store shelves for years. Though Snickers may be the world's most popular chocolate bar, Mars continues to be a candy bar heavy hitter. And like all famous brands, the OG Mars is hardly the only product the brand has produced over the years. Mars Planets started orbiting candy shelves in the early 2000s, and fans were willing to venture into space to get their hands on them. The mini planets were bite-sized balls of celestial joy and came in 3 different flavors: nougat-filled, biscuit-filled, and caramel-filled, all covered in chocolate.
It tasted delicious.
Mars Planets were what you got if a Mars bar decided to take the form of a Maltesers or Whopper. While the candy was a fun twist on the Mars bar, Mars Planets was discontinued, much to the sadness of fans everywhere. Despite being well-loved, sales didn't justify continued production, and Planets launched out of the sugary solar system in 2007. So why do Mars Planets deserve a comeback? Well, for starters, Planets were perfect for sharing. Yes, sharing, don't be greedy. Not to mention the candy's variety and mix of textures were ahead of their time, much like today's mixed snack bags. Houston, we have a problem. But don't worry, there is a solution.
We could fix this.
Dweebs, 1980s.
Calling all dweebs!
When it comes to snacks, everyone knows that 2 is always better than 1. Not just in the sense of having more than one, but also having various options. Look no further than Original Munchies Snack Mix, which combines 5 salty, crunchy favorites into one delicious bag. Or Doritos Collision, bringing together 2 flavors like Cool Ranch and Intense Pickle. Over in the world of candy, we can see much of the same, like the ever-popular Nerds. Nerds come in various paired flavors, and while Nerds are great, many find them to be on the small side. The solution? Dweebs.
Guys, we just found our solution.
A less sour and larger version of Nerds, Dweebs came in separate compartments so you can mix and match flavors. So not only were Dweebs bigger, they were also a lot of fun. Sadly, the sugar nuggets were unable to stand the test of time and vanished from shelves only after a few years. One of the biggest reasons for Dweebs' failure was its older, more popular cousin. Yes, Dweebs were ultimately overshadowed by Nerds, which had a stronger, tangy flavor and a more recognizable brand. The chunkier, understated Nerd cousin deserves a comeback, though, and soon. The milder taste and larger size made them a unique alternative for those who found Nerds too tart. So, Willy Wonka, stop keeping Dweebs out of the hands of candy fans, please. Oh, there is good news for those living in or visiting Europe. You can still enjoy a Dweeb, as the candy is still sold there.
Just go to Europe.
Nestlé Crunch White Chocolate, 2000s.
White chocolate, the loneliest chocolate.
The big candy bar brands are always coming up with ways to keep their fans happy while trying to grow the ever-important client base. It's what good brands do, and that's exactly why the public ends up with tasty products like Kit Kat Chunky or Peanut Butter Snickers and even Strawberry Aero. However, when it comes to really shaking things up, look no further than white chocolate. White chocolate can be polarizing, as most people either love it or just don't care for it. But that didn't stop Nestlé from taking one of its most iconic candy bars and turning it into a bizarro world version of itself.
So weird!
The White Chocolate Crunch Bar was a white chocolate twist on the OG Crunch. This version featured the same crispy rice texture with a creamy white chocolate coating. But the new White Chocolate Crunch seemingly didn't have what it takes, and ultimately the bar was discontinued. The truth is, Nestlé phased it out due to lack of popularity. However, don't count Nestlé's little pale bundle of joy out for good. Because of the rise of white chocolate popularity, the White Chocolate Crunch could be a major hit among modern fans of the other white chocolate brand name bars out there, like Kit Kats and Hershey's Cookies and Cream bars.
He likes white chocolate, I think.
Before we reveal more, please take a second to like this video. And if it's your first time here, then hit that subscribe button. Now, let's keep the ghost candy train rolling.
I never thanked you.
Laffy Taffy Sparkle Cherry, 1990s.
That's a wad of Laffy Taffy.
One of the most important appealing factors of candy is the fun factor, and all the biggest brands are well aware of this. Some brands put their products in gimmicky packages like Push Pops or a Nerds-type mixing flavor box, while other brands let the candy-eating experience be the fun. And what's more fun than taffy? Stretchy, stringy, and an all-around chore to eat in the best possible way. Taffy is an old-school candy that folks still drool over today. While there are many versions of the stuff, the most famous by far is Laffy Taffy. Laffy's been hard at work whipping up taffy of all varieties for years, but there's one flavor that sadly came and went: Sparkle Cherry.
Sparkly.
This crimson gem was cherry-flavored taffy, obviously, but its most unique and fun feature was its sparkles. The sparkles were edible glitter, and the taffy's glitter would actually sparkle in the light. Okay, so what happened? Well, possibly due to ingredient changes or production costs, Sparkle Cherry eventually stopped sparkling for good. Another factor may have been that the taffy only appealed to a niche market, which may have led to limited sales. But something as eye-catching as Sparkle Cherry deserves a true comeback story. After all, who doesn't love sparkly candy? It would surely be a social media sensation.
We're going viral.
Powerhouse Bar, 1980s.
Really? Powerhouse?
Power Bars, that all-in-one meal or snack substitute perfect for a quick protein and carb replenishment. There isn't a grocery store or convenience store out there that doesn't carry some kind of Power Bar today. In fact, many popular brands like Snickers even offer a high-protein version of their famous chocolate bar. But back in the day, high-protein Power Bars were not easy to come by.
Protein! I need protein!
However, there was one bar that attempted to compete with the big candy bar brands by offering a different kind of chocolate bar, and that was the Powerhouse Bar. First showing up on shelves in the 80s, Powerhouse was the very first US-made energy/protein bar. Powerhouse was packed with hearty nougat and caramel and coated in chocolate, similar to Snickers, but with a denser, more chewy texture. So you're likely thinking, a bar like a Snickers that was packed with protein. What was the problem? Well, the problem was the market was already dominated by the big-name brands like Snickers and Milky Way, leaving little room for another nougat-based bar. However, this bar deserves a powerhouse comeback based solely on fan demand. A quick Google search of Powerhouse Bar will show that the discontinued high-protein energy candy bar hybrid is one of the most requested products to be brought back. Not to mention, with the rise of high-protein energy bars in the decades since it disappeared, Powerhouse could be rebranded as a protein-packed, nostalgic treat.
I really wish it would.
Chewy Runts, 1990s.
Love that chew, love that tang.
Many of the most famous candies out there are of the crunchy variety. Lifesavers are a perfect example of the crunch being half the fun. Peanut brittle, for old-school candy lovers, is also a great way to get that sweet crunch and possibly end up with a shredded mouth and maybe a broken tooth. But no risk, no reward. One of the big brands in crunchy candy is undoubtedly Runts, brought to us by the good confectioners at Willy Wonka. Similar to the classic sweet tarts, Runts are glossy, hard candies shaped like fruit and with a lot of crunch.
I love that crunch.
However, some folks like to experience their favorite candy without having to worry about puncture wounds to the inside of their mouth. And that's where the soft, chewy candy comes in to save the day. And wouldn't you know it, a soft, chewy version of Runts was once available for all to enjoy. Featuring banana, apple, and strawberry flavors, Chewy Runts were all OG Runts when it came to taste, but with none of the crunch. It seems the classic hard-shell Runts remained more popular, and the chewy version never gained enough traction, which caused those little chewy fruit shapes to vanish off store shelves for good. However, today's candy trends lean toward chewy textures, and with the success of Chewy Skittles and Starburst gummies, Chewy Runts could fit right in. So don't say goodbye forever just yet.
It's not goodbye. See you later.
Summit Bar, 1970s to 1980s.
That's what a summit is.
Okay, everybody out there is familiar with Twix, right? You know, the chocolate-covered cookie bar layered with caramel? Of course. After all, Twix is one of the most popular candy bars on the planet. But let's be honest, the candy bar itself isn't that spectacular now, is it? It's good, but what is it that really makes the famous candy bar so popular? There's 2 of them in one pack. Yes, doubling the amount of chocolatey goodness never fails to disappoint. So when the folks over at Mars said to themselves, hey, why is there only one double cookie-layered candy bar on the market? The company got to work and introduced the world to Summit, a layered candy bar featuring wafers, peanuts, and coated in chocolate. Summit came with 2 delicious bars, because what if your other hand feels left out? But Summit wasn't built to last, as the bar was eventually discontinued and no one would ever reach that Summit again. Summit's poor marketing and competition from Twix and the Kit Kat, isn't 4 better than 2, led to its eventual downfall. Luckily, there are plenty of peanut fans out there who would appreciate a crunchy, nutty alternative to the usual chocolate wafer bars, which is as good a reason as any for Summit to make a mountain-sized comeback.
You saved the Summit.
Choco'Lite, 1970s to 1980s.
Chocolate, chocolate, chocolate!
Thick, rich, and dense is usually what folks look for when it comes to a good chocolate bar. Brands like Snickers, O. Henry, and Hershey are all notable for their rich and thick milk chocolate, and that's great. However, every now and then, a nice lighter chocolate bar is more appealing. That's where brands like Aero and Mirage come in.
Chocolate.
While those 2 famous candy bars are still available today, one of the light and airy chocolate bars from the 70s and 80s is no longer an option, and that is the Choco'Lite. A light and airy chocolate bar, Choco'Lite had tiny air bubbles inside, making it fluffy and easy to bite. Sadly for the light and airy bar, Nestlé discontinued it as it failed to compete with standard solid chocolate bars. However, with the success of aerated chocolate bars like Hershey's Air Delight, Choco'Lite could make a great retro revival.
How do we know he'll revive?
Freshen-Up Gum, 1970s to 2010s.
You give me gum gum.
What is it about biting into something only to have a burst of sweetness be your reward that's so appealing? Whatever it is, the candy brands know a good thing when they see it, which is how something like Freshen-Up Gum makes it to store shelves and then your mouth. First bursting onto the scene in the 70s, Freshen-Up Gum had a sweet liquid center that burst in your mouth the instant you sank your teeth into it.
Disgusting.
The gum came in spearmint, cinnamon, bubblegum, and fruit. But sadly, the gum was discontinued due to declining sales and chewing gum market shrinkage. But the public also knows a good thing when they see it too, with the liquid-filled goodness being a novelty and in a world full of dull mints, Freshen-Up could be a refreshing throwback.
It is time to refresh yourselves.
Skittles bubblegum, early 2000s.
It's made of Skittles.
There's no candy out there quite like Skittles. The overwhelming sweet taste and satisfying crunch/chew might make dentists cringe, but candy lovers can't resist the amazing flavors. Luckily, Skittles became so popular that they decided to pack all the delicious fruit flavor of Skittles into bubble gum.
Taste the rainbow.
Skittles bubblegum was an early 2000s delight, offering the same fruity punch, colors, and familiar shape, but in a longer-lasting chewable version. Skittles bubblegum seemed like it couldn't miss. Unfortunately, it had a short chew time, which disappointed gum lovers who expected longer-lasting flavor. And this is why Skittles bubblegum chased the rainbow right off store shelves. However, with the huge success of chewy Skittles and fruit-flavored gums, Skittles bubblegum could be reimagined with longer-lasting flavor technology. If we can make actual AI and electric cars, surely we can make the flavor last a bit longer.
Gum is for chewing.
Got a favorite candy that you miss? Let us know in the comments section. And then stay right here for another great BabbleTop video.